Success and Money Foundation presents Success and Money Fairy Tales, 39 Fairy Tales and Life Lessons. Chapter 1. Aladdin and the Magic Lamp. Do not be fooled by appearances, for true worth lies within. Arabian Nights. The story. Long ago in a faraway land, a poor but clever boy named Aladdin lived with his mother. One day, a mysterious sorcerer approached Aladdin, pretending to be his long-lost uncle. He convinced Aladdin to enter a hidden cave filled with treasure, telling him to bring out an old oil lamp. Aladdin retrieved the lamp, but when he refused to give it up before being safely out of the cave, the sorcerer trapped him inside. Alone in the darkness, Aladdin rubbed the lamp, and to his astonishment, a powerful genie appeared. The genie granted Aladdin 3 wishes. With clever thinking, Aladdin wished for food, freedom, and eventually wealth. He used his wishes wisely and returned home to build a better life. With the help of the genie, he became prosperous and admired, even catching the eye of the Sultan's daughter, Princess Jasmine. Aladdin and the princess fell in love, and soon he married her. But trouble returned when the evil sorcerer stole the lamp and used it to take Aladdin's palace and wife. Aladdin, without the lamp, had to rely on his courage and cleverness. He devised a plan to trick the sorcerer, retrieve the lamp, and set things right. In the end, he outsmarted the villain, rescued Jasmine, and regained the genie's help. Aladdin used his final wish not for more riches, but to free the genie forever. He learned that true strength comes not from magic, but from using your mind and heart wisely. Aladdin and Jasmine ruled with kindness and wisdom, and the genie, now free, remained their loyal friend for life. Life lessons. Success. Principle. Your greatest power isn't magic. It's your ability to think, adapt, and do the right thing under pressure. Money lesson. Sudden wealth can disappear quickly if you don't use wisdom and integrity to protect it. Character insight. True leadership is shown in how you handle problems when things go wrong, not when everything is easy. Life reflection. The most valuable things, freedom, love, trust, can't be wished into existence. They must be earned and protected. Chapter 2. Ali Baba and the 40 Thieves. Open Sesame. Traditional Arabic tale. The story. In ancient Persia, there lived a poor woodcutter named Ali Baba. One day, while working deep in the forest, he saw a group of 40 thieves stop in front of a large rock. Their leader shouted the magic words, "Open Sesame!" and the rock opened to reveal a hidden cave filled with gold and treasure. After they left, Ali Baba repeated the words and entered the cave, amazed by the riches inside. He took only a small portion and returned home to help his family. Ali Baba tried to keep his discovery a secret, but his greedy brother Qasim learned of the treasure and rushed to the cave alone. Sadly, Qasim forgot the magic words to escape and was caught by the thieves. When he didn't return, Ali Baba searched for him and found what had happened. With great care and courage, he recovered his brother's body and returned home, more determined than ever to stay cautious and wise with the treasure. The thieves, angry and suspicious, began searching for the person who had discovered their secret. They eventually traced Ali Baba's home and made plans to kill him. But Ali Baba had a clever and loyal servant named Morgiana. She overheard the thieves' plan and took action. Using her intelligence and bravery, she foiled their plot by outsmarting them one by one, saving Ali Baba's life and protecting his household. In gratitude, Ali Baba rewarded Morgiana with freedom and treated her like family. From that day on, Ali Baba lived a prosperous but humble life, using the treasure not for greed, but to help those around him. He never revealed the cave's location to anyone else, and the secret of Open Sesame was kept safe forever. Life lessons. Success principle. True wisdom lies in knowing when to act with courage and when to stay humble and quiet. Money lesson. Wealth earned or discovered should be handled with caution and used to build a better future, not to feed greed. Character insight, loyalty, clever thinking, and bravery, like Morgiana showed, are priceless and powerful. Life reflection. The greatest treasures in life aren't gold or jewels, they're wisdom, relationships, and the choices we make with what we're given. Chapter 3. Beauty and the Beast. Beauty is found within. From the tale of Beauty and the Beast, the story. Once upon a time, a wealthy merchant lost his fortune and moved to the countryside with his children. Among them was Beauty, his youngest daughter, who was kind, intelligent, and loved books more than riches. One day the merchant became lost in a storm and stumbled upon a mysterious, enchanted castle. Inside, he found food and shelter, but when he picked a rose for Beauty, the master of the castle, a fearsome beast, appeared and demanded payment. The beast agreed to spare the merchant's life if one of his daughters came to live at the castle in his place. Beauty, feeling responsible for the rose, bravely offered to go. At the castle, she was treated kindly, but was frightened by the beast's appearance. Over time, however, she saw that beneath the beast's fearsome looks was a gentle, thoughtful soul. He read with her, gave her freedom to explore, and asked her each day if she would marry him. She always gently declined, but their friendship grew stronger. After many weeks, Beauty returned home to visit her family. Time passed quickly, and she realized she missed the beast deeply. When she returned to the castle, she found him lying in the garden, weak and heartbroken. She confessed her love for him and with tears agreed to marry him. In that moment, a magical transformation occurred. The beast turned back into a handsome prince. He had been cursed long ago, and only true love could break the spell. Beauty and the prince were married and ruled the land with wisdom and kindness. Beauty had learned that true love is not about looks or wealth, but about character, heart, and the courage to see goodness in others. And so, the castle was filled with light and joy once again, and they lived happily ever after. Life lessons, success, principle, real value lies in character, kindness, and the ability to see the best in others. Money lesson. Riches and appearances fade, but relationships built on respect and compassion endure. Character insight. Courage is shown when we step beyond fear and treat others with fairness and grace. Life reflection. What matters most is who we are on the inside, not what the world sees on the outside. Chapter 4. Charlotte's Web. You have been my friend. That in itself is a tremendous thing. Charlotte the Spider. The story. On a small farm, a young girl named Fern saved the runt of a pig's litter from being killed. She named him Wilbur and cared for him tenderly until he grew too big and was sent to her uncle's barn. Wilbur felt lonely there, shunned by the other animals. That was until he heard a kind voice in the darkness. Charlotte, a wise and gentle gray spider living in the rafters. She became his dearest friend. When Wilbur learned he might be slaughtered, he was terrified. Charlotte promised to help. She began spinning words into her web above his pen, starting with "some pig." The humans were amazed, believing the writing was a miracle. More words followed: terrific, radiant, and humble. With each new message, more visitors came, and Wilbur became famous. Thanks to Charlotte's cleverness and dedication, the Zuckermans decided to spare him. Wilbur was taken to the county fair, where Charlotte spun one last web: humble. She had done everything to save her friend. Even as her own strength was fading, at the fair Wilbur won a special prize, securing his future. But in a quiet corner of the barn, Charlotte laid her eggs and peacefully passed away. Her mission complete. Wilbur was heartbroken, but forever grateful for her love and sacrifice. When Charlotte's eggs hatched, most of her babies floated away on the breeze, but 3 stayed, and Wilbur welcomed them. He told them stories of their mother, her brilliance, her bravery, and her friendship. Though he never forgot her, Wilbur's life was richer because of her love. Charlotte had shown that true friendship lives on, even after we're gone. Life lessons. Success principle. A single act of kindness, done with love and purpose, can change someone's life forever. Money lesson. True value isn't found in fame or awards. It's in the relationships we build and the lives we touch. Character insight. Loyalty, selflessness, and compassion define who we really are, not how we look or what we own. Life reflection. Legacy isn't measured in wealth, but in how deeply we cared and how we made others feel. Chapter 5. Cinderella, Have Courage and Be Kind. Cinderella, Fairy Tale. The Story. Once upon a time, there lived a gentle and kind girl named Cinderella. After her father passed away, she was left in the care of her cruel stepmother and 2 selfish stepsisters. They made her do all the housework and treated her as a servant in her own home. Despite her hardship, Cinderella remained hopeful and kind, never letting bitterness take over her heart. One day a royal invitation arrived. The prince was holding a grand ball to find a bride. Cinderella dreamed of attending, but her stepmother forbade it. She was heartbroken when her stepsisters left for the ball in fine gowns, while she was left behind in rags. Just then a fairy godmother appeared. With a wave of her wand, she turned a pumpkin into a carriage, mice into horses, and Cinderella's rags into a stunning gown with glass slippers. But the magic would only last until midnight. At the ball, Cinderella captured everyone's attention, including the prince's. They danced the entire night, but she had to flee when the clock struck 12. As she rushed away, she left behind one glass slipper. The prince searched the kingdom, trying the slipper on every maiden until he reached Cinderella's home. Her stepsisters tried to hide her, but when the slipper fit perfectly, the prince knew he had found his true love. Cinderella forgave her stepfamily and went on to marry the prince. She became a beloved queen, known for her kindness and grace. Her life had changed not just through magic, but through her inner strength, compassion, and belief that dreams could come true even in the darkest of times. Life lessons, success, principle. Keep hope alive. Even when life is difficult, your attitude can open the door to transformation. Money lesson. True riches aren't about wealth. They come from kindness, gratitude, and treating others with respect. Character insight. Grace under pressure and forgiveness in the face of cruelty show the true strength of character. Life reflection. What you believe about yourself matters more than what others say. Kindness and courage never go out of style. Chapter 6. Ferdinand the Bull. He liked to sit just quietly and smell the flowers. The Story of Ferdinand by Munro Leaf. The story. Ferdinand was a young bull who lived in Spain. While the other bulls ran and played and butted heads, Ferdinand was different. He preferred sitting alone under his favorite cork tree, enjoying the peaceful sounds of nature and smelling the flowers. Though he was big and strong, he didn't care to fight or show off. He was happy just being himself. One day, men from the city came looking for the fiercest, toughest bull to take to the bullfights in Madrid. The other bulls tried to impress them by charging and showing their strength. Ferdinand wasn't interested, until a bee stung him. In pain, he leapt and ran wildly, catching everyone's attention. The men believed he was the fiercest bull of all, so they took him to the big arena. On the day of the bullfight, the crowd filled the arena. The matador, proud and dressed in red, was ready to face a dangerous opponent. But when Ferdinand entered the ring, he didn't charge or fight. Instead, he calmly walked to the center, sat down, and sniffed the flowers the ladies had thrown. No matter how they tried to provoke him, Ferdinand remained peaceful. Eventually, they gave up and sent him back home. There, under his favorite tree, Ferdinand lived happily ever after, doing what he loved. He never let others define who he should be or what success looked like. He simply stayed true to himself and found peace in the process. Life lessons. Success principle. True success isn't about fitting in or showing off. It's about knowing who you are and staying true to it. Money lesson. Just because you can pursue something flashy or aggressive doesn't mean it's the right investment for your values. Character insight, calmness, self-awareness, and peace of mind are powerful traits, sometimes stronger than force. Life reflection. You don't have to follow the crowd. Peace, purpose, and joy come when you live your own path. Chapter 7. Goldilocks and the Three Bears. This one is just right. Goldilocks, the story. Once upon a time, a family of 3 bears, Papa Bear, Mama Bear, and Baby Bear, lived in a cozy cottage in the forest. One morning, they made porridge for breakfast, but it was too hot to eat. So they decided to take a walk while it cooled down. While they were gone, a curious little girl named Goldilocks wandered through the woods and came upon the empty house. Goldilocks knocked, and when no one answered, she let herself in. Inside the kitchen, she saw 3 bowls of porridge. She tasted the first, it was too hot. The second was too cold, but the third was just right, and she ate it all up. Then she sat in their chairs. The first was too hard, the second too soft, and the third was just right, but it broke under her. Feeling sleepy, Goldilocks went upstairs and found 3 beds. One was too big, one was too small, but the third was just right, and she fell fast asleep. Soon after, the bear family returned home and found signs of an intruder. Someone had eaten Baby Bear's porridge, broken his chair, and was now sleeping in his bed. Goldilocks woke with a fright when she saw the 3 bears staring at her. She leapt from the bed, ran down the stairs, and fled into the woods. She never returned to the house again, but she remembered the day she learned that actions have consequences and that respecting others' property and space is always important. Life lessons. Success principle. Take the time to find what's just right for you. Balance leads to better choices and results. Money lesson. Don't take what isn't yours. Respecting boundaries and property is a key part of financial and personal responsibility. Character insight. Curiosity is good, but it must be paired with respect and self-control. Life reflection. Every action has consequences. Think ahead and treat others how you want to be treated. Chapter 8. Green Eggs and Ham. Try them, and you may. Sam I Am by Dr. Seuss, the story. Sam I Am is a cheerful and persistent character who loves green eggs and ham. He offers them to another character, a grumpy fellow who insists over and over again that he does not like green eggs and ham. Sam follows him everywhere, in a house, with a mouse, in a box, with a fox, in a car, in a tree, in a train, in the rain, relentlessly encouraging him to give them a try. Despite all of Sam's enthusiasm, the other character refuses. He gets more annoyed and insistent, declaring that he will never try green eggs and ham, no matter where or with whom. Yet Sam never gives up. He remains positive, patient, and polite, asking only that he give it a taste. Finally, after much persistence, the grumpy character gives in and decides to take just one bite. To his surprise, he discovers that he actually likes green eggs and ham. He likes them a lot. He joyfully announces that he would eat them anywhere, with anyone, in all the places Sam had suggested. His whole attitude shifts, and he becomes grateful to Sam I Am for not giving up and encouraging him to try something new. The story ends with a message of open-mindedness, persistence, and the joy of discovering something unexpected. Sam's kindness and the other characters' eventual willingness to try made all the difference. Sometimes trying just one new thing can open a whole world of possibilities. Life lessons. Success. Principle. Be open to new experiences. You never know what you might end up enjoying or learning from. Money lesson. Small changes or new habits, like budgeting or saving, might feel strange at first, but can bring great benefits if you give them a try. Character insight. Persistence and positivity, like Sam I Am shows, can inspire others and create big change. Life reflection. Trying new things is part of growth. Don't let fear or stubbornness keep you from something wonderful. Chapter 9. Hansel and Gretel. Cleverness, courage, and care will light your way home. Adapted from the Brothers Grimm. The story. Once upon a time, a poor woodcutter lived with his two children, Hansel and Gretel, and their cruel stepmother. Times were hard, and the stepmother convinced the father to abandon the children deep in the forest so they would have fewer mouths to feed. But Hansel, overhearing the plan, gathered white pebbles and dropped them along the path. The next morning they were led into the forest and left alone, but at night the moonlight shone on the pebbles and Hansel and Gretel followed them safely home. Angry that they had returned, the stepmother tried again. This time Hansel used breadcrumbs to mark the trail, but the birds ate them. Lost in the woods, the children wandered until they discovered a house made of candy and gingerbread. Hungry and tired, they began to eat it. Suddenly, an old woman appeared and invited them inside. What seemed like kindness turned out to be a trap. The woman was a wicked witch who planned to fatten Hansel and eat him. While the witch locked Hansel in a cage, she forced Gretel to do chores, but Gretel watched and waited. When the witch told her to check the oven, Gretel pretended not to understand. Frustrated, the witch bent down to show her, and Gretel gave her a mighty push, slamming the door shut and ending the witch's threat forever. She freed Hansel, and together they discovered a chest full of gold and jewels hidden in the house. Using their courage, cleverness, and teamwork, Hansel and Gretel made their way home. Their father, now rid of the wicked stepmother, wept with joy. The children's treasure made them rich, but more importantly, they had each other, and a story of survival that proved how quick thinking and bravery could turn even the darkest moment into light. Life lessons. Success, principle, resourcefulness, and determination are key to overcoming even the toughest challenges. Money lesson. Unexpected fortune can come from dark places. Use it wisely and never forget the lessons it took to earn it. Character insight. Bravery, trust, and thinking ahead can help you outsmart danger and protect those you love. Life reflection. Even when you feel lost, small steps forward, teamwork, and faith in yourself can lead you home. Chapter 10. Horton Hears a Who. A person's a person, no matter how small. Horton the Elephant. The story. Horton the Elephant was enjoying a peaceful day in the jungle of Newell when he heard a tiny voice coming from a speck of dust. To everyone else, it seemed like nonsense, but Horton believed what he heard. He gently placed the speck on a clover and listened more closely. The voice belonged to the mayor of Whoville, a whole town of tiny people living on that invisible speck. Horton promised to protect them, because even though no one else could see or hear them, he knew they were real. The other animals laughed at him, calling him foolish, but Horton stood firm, saying, "A person's a person, no matter how small." He guarded the clover from harm, even when others tried to destroy it, because he believed in doing what was right, especially when no one else would. The animals captured Horton and planned to boil the clover in oil unless he admitted the voices weren't real. Desperate to save the Whos, Horton urged them to make as much noise as possible. Every Who in Whoville shouted and banged and played, but still, no one could hear them. Then, one last tiny Who, Jojo, added his voice, and suddenly the jungle animals heard it too. The Whos were saved, and Horton was proven right. Everyone realized that just because you can't see or hear something doesn't mean it isn't important. Horton's patience, courage, and kindness changed hearts and minds. From then on, the animals promised to treat all creatures with respect, no matter how small. Life lessons. Success principle. Stand up for what's right, even if no one else sees it yet. Integrity is stronger than popularity. Money lesson. Just like Horton valued something others ignored, great opportunities can be found in small or overlooked places, if you pay attention. Character insight. Kindness, courage, and loyalty can make a real difference, even when you're the only one taking a stand. Life reflection. Everyone matters. Big or small, seen or unseen, every person has value and a voice worth protecting. Chapter 11. How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Maybe Christmas doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, means a little bit more. The Grinch, by Dr. Seuss. The story. High above Whoville, on Mount Crumpet, lived the Grinch, a grouchy, bitter creature who hated Christmas. He couldn't stand the joy, the singing, the lights, and the presents. Most of all, he hated the noise. So one year, the Grinch decided he'd had enough. He would stop Christmas from coming. With a wicked grin, he made a plan to sneak into town and steal it all. Disguised as Santa Claus, with his dog Max dressed as a reindeer, the Grinch crept into the homes of the Whos on Christmas Eve. He took their stockings, presents, food, and even the decorations. He stuffed everything into sacks and carried them up the mountain, convinced that when the Whos woke up to nothing, their joy would be gone, and he would finally have peace and quiet. But on Christmas morning, the Grinch heard something unexpected. The Whos gathered in the town square, not to cry, but to sing. Even without presents or feasts, they were still joyful. The Grinch was puzzled. Slowly, he realized that Christmas wasn't about gifts or things. It was about love, community, and the spirit of giving. His heart, which had been 2 sizes too small, began to grow. With new understanding and warmth in his heart, the Grinch raced back to Whoville with everything he had stolen. He returned the gifts, the food, and the decorations. The Whos welcomed him with open arms. That day, the Grinch joined the feast and carved the roast beast, finally understanding the true meaning of the holiday and the joy of giving. Life lessons. Success. Principle. True happiness comes not from what you get, but from what you give and how you connect with others. Money lesson. Wealth and joy are not the same. The most meaningful experiences often cost nothing at all. Character insight. People can change. A heart filled with bitterness can grow when touched by kindness and love. Life reflection. Focus on what matters most: family, friendship, generosity, and gratitude. These are the gifts that last forever. Chapter 12. Jack and the Beanstalk. Climb high, dream big, and be brave. Traditional English fairy tale. The story. Once upon a time, a poor boy named Jack lived with his mother. Their only possession of value was a cow, which had stopped giving milk. Jack took the cow to market to sell it, but along the way he met a stranger who offered him 5 magic beans in exchange. Jack made the trade, excited by the promise of something magical. But when he returned home, his mother was furious and threw the beans out the window. The next morning, Jack awoke to find a massive beanstalk growing outside his window. It stretched far up into the sky. Jack climbed it and found a land above the clouds where a giant lived in a castle. Curious and bold, Jack entered the castle and discovered treasures: a bag of gold, a magical hen that laid golden eggs, and a harp that played by itself. But the castle also belonged to a fierce giant who chanted "Fee, fee, fo, fum," and tried to catch Jack. Jack escaped the giant's clutches and returned home with the gold. But after some time, the gold ran out. So he climbed the beanstalk again, this time stealing the magical hen, and later, the harp. On his final trip, the harp's music woke the giant. Jack fled down the beanstalk, but the giant followed close behind. Jack called for his mother to bring an axe. Just as the giant reached the bottom, Jack chopped down the beanstalk, sending the giant crashing to the ground. From then on, Jack and his mother lived comfortably. They had learned much from their struggles: to take bold steps, to use what they were given wisely, and to always be ready to act with courage when danger came. The beanstalk was gone, but the lessons Jack brought down from the clouds stayed with them forever. Life lessons. Success. Principle. Big rewards often require bold action, but success also depends on preparation and quick thinking. Money lesson. Don't spend everything at once. Make wise choices with newfound wealth and invest in your future. Character insight. Curiosity and courage can lead to great discoveries. Just remember to act with integrity along the way. Life reflection. Even when you feel small, you can achieve great things by climbing step by step with purpose and faith. Chapter 13. Johnny Appleseed. He planted seeds of kindness and apples everywhere he went. American folklore. The story. Long ago, in the early days of America, there lived a man named John Chapman, but most people knew him as Johnny Appleseed. He traveled barefoot across the frontier, planting apple seeds and spreading kindness wherever he went. He carried a sack of seeds, wore a pot for a hat, and had a gentle spirit that made him welcome in every town, farm, and village he visited. Johnny didn't plant trees just for himself. He believed in thinking ahead, planting orchards that settlers and future generations could benefit from. He would find a patch of land, clear it with care, and start a nursery. Then he'd teach others how to care for the young trees before moving on to the next town. People admired him not just for his hard work, but for his kindness to animals and his simple, generous way of living. Johnny Appleseed became a legend in his own time. Children would run out to greet him when he arrived. He shared stories, patched people's clothes, and offered seeds to anyone who wanted to grow their own orchard. He never asked for much, just a place to sleep and something simple to eat. Even the animals seemed to trust him, as he often fed birds and squirrels from his hand. Though Johnny never became rich with money, he left behind something far more valuable: apple trees that provided fruit for families, forests that helped the land, and stories that inspired hearts. His life proved that you don't need to wear a crown or own a castle to make a difference. You just need to plant good things, seeds, kindness, and care, and trust they will grow. Life lessons. Success principle. Think long-term. Planting today, whether it's ideas, habits, or trees, leads to future success. Money lesson. Wealth isn't just about dollars. True value comes from doing good that lasts beyond your lifetime. Character insight. Generosity, humility, and kindness can make you rich in ways money never will. Life reflection. Small acts, done consistently and with love, can leave a lasting legacy across generations. Chapter 14. Little Red Riding Hood. Don't talk to strangers. Traditional saying, the story. Once upon a time, there was a sweet little girl who was loved by everyone, especially her grandmother. She wore a red hooded cloak wherever she went, which earned her the name Little Red Riding Hood. One day, her mother packed a basket of food and asked her to deliver it to her sick grandmother, who lived on the other side of the forest. Her mother warned her, "Stay on the path and don't talk to strangers." As Little Red made her way through the woods, she encountered a sly wolf who asked where she was going. Forgetting her mother's warning, she told him about her grandmother's house. The wolf came up with a plan. He distracted Little Red by suggesting she pick some flowers while he raced ahead to the grandmother's cottage. There he tricked the grandmother, locked her away, and disguised himself in her clothing, waiting for Little Red to arrive. When Little Red Riding Hood arrived, she noticed her grandmother looked quite strange. She commented on her large eyes, big ears, and sharp teeth. Suddenly, the wolf leapt out of bed and tried to eat her. Fortunately, a nearby woodsman heard the commotion and rushed in. He scared the wolf away and rescued both Little Red and her grandmother. The wolf fled and was never seen in those woods again. From that day on, Little Red Riding Hood promised to never stray from the path again and to always listen to her mother's advice. She learned the importance of being cautious and staying aware of the dangers that can hide behind friendly faces. And so, she continued to visit her grandmother, but always with wisdom, care, and a better sense of judgment. Life lessons. Success. Principle: listen to wise advice and follow instructions from those who care about your safety and success. Money lesson: tempting distractions, like shortcuts or easy rewards, can lead to poor decisions and lost opportunities. Character insight: stay alert and cautious when facing unfamiliar situations. Not everyone has good intentions. Life reflection, awareness, preparation, and good habits can help protect you from danger and guide you toward a better path. Chapter 15, Paul Bunyan and Babe the Blue Ox. He was taller than the tallest pine and stronger than 100 men. American Tall Tale. The story. Paul Bunyan was no ordinary baby. When he was born, it took 5 storks just to carry him to his parents' house. As he grew, so did his size. He could eat 40 pancakes in a single sitting and had to sleep across 4 beds. As a man, he became the most famous lumberjack in America. With his mighty axe, Paul could clear forests faster than entire logging crews combined. One winter, after a blizzard turned everything blue, Paul discovered a giant blue ox shivering in the snow. He took him in and named him Babe. The two became inseparable friends and partners. Wherever Paul went to chop trees and carve out new land, Babe came too, pulling wagons, clearing snow, and helping shape the American landscape. Together, they created rivers, mountains, and valleys with their legendary size and strength. The stories say Paul dragged his axe behind him and created the Grand Canyon. He and Babe stomped across the plains and left behind the Great Lakes with their giant footprints. They faced all kinds of weather, animals, and adventures, but always found a way to keep going. Paul's team of loggers looked up to him not just because he was strong, but because he treated everyone fairly and worked hard right alongside them. Though some say Paul and Babe eventually wandered off into the woods never to be seen again, their legend lives on. Their tale reminds us that strength, courage, and a little teamwork can shape the world around us. Whether you're building a business, helping others, or blazing your own trail, think big, work hard, and take care of your team. Life lessons. Success, principle, dream big, work hard, and don't be afraid to take on massive goals one swing at a time. Money lesson. Big success takes more than strength. It takes teamwork, grit, and staying true to your values. Character insight. Humility, fairness, and a strong work ethic make you a leader others want to follow. Life reflection. With a loyal friend and a strong vision, you can leave a legacy as wide and lasting as a giant's footprint. Chapter 16. Pinocchio. Always let your conscience be your guide. Jiminy Cricket. The story. Once upon a time, a kind woodcarver named Geppetto created a puppet boy from a piece of pine. To his surprise, the puppet magically came to life. Geppetto named him Pinocchio and loved him like a son. A blue fairy appeared and told Pinocchio that if he proved himself to be brave, truthful, and unselfish, he could become a real boy. She assigned Jiminy Cricket to be his conscience and help guide him. Pinocchio was curious and easily tempted. On his way to school, he was lured away by tricky characters who promised fun and excitement. He joined a puppet show instead of studying and later visited Pleasure Island, where boys who misbehaved turned into donkeys. Each time he lied or made a bad choice, his wooden nose grew longer. Despite the warnings from Jiminy Cricket, Pinocchio kept falling into trouble. Eventually, Pinocchio realized the consequences of his actions. When he learned that Geppetto had gone looking for him and ended up inside the belly of a whale, Pinocchio rushed to save him. With bravery and clever thinking, he found Geppetto and helped them escape. This act of selflessness showed how much he had changed. The blue fairy saw the goodness growing in his heart and granted him his deepest wish. She turned him into a real boy. From then on, Pinocchio worked hard, listened to his conscience, and made better choices. He had learned that freedom came with responsibility, and that truth, love, and courage would always guide him toward becoming his best self. Life lessons. Success. Principle. Growth happens when you take responsibility for your actions and choose what's right over what's easy. Money lesson. Quick fixes and empty promises, like get-rich-quick schemes, can lead to trouble. Hard work and honesty pay off. Character insight. Telling the truth, owning your mistakes, and putting others first are signs of real maturity. Life reflection. Everyone makes mistakes, but what matters most is learning from them and listening to your inner voice of wisdom. Chapter 17. Puss in Boots. Wit and wisdom can open doors that strength cannot. European fairy tale. The story. Once upon a time, a poor miller passed away and left only a cat to his youngest son. The young man was disappointed, thinking he'd been left with nothing of value. But the cat was no ordinary cat. He was clever, could talk, and wore a pair of fancy boots. "Just give me a bag and a pair of boots," said Puss, "and I'll make your fortune." Puss in Boots began by catching game and presenting it to the king as gifts from his master, whom he called the Marquis of Carabas. Over time, the king became curious about this generous nobleman. One day, Puss tricked the king into believing that his master was wealthy and powerful by arranging a staged rescue. When the king's carriage passed by, Puss had his master pretend to be drowning. The king stopped, saved him, and invited him into the royal carriage. Puss hurried ahead and told all the farmers along the road to say their land belonged to the Marquis of Carabas, or face the wrath of a powerful sorcerer. The trick worked, and the king was amazed by the vast lands his guest seemed to own. Eventually, Puss arrived at a grand castle owned by a real sorcerer and challenged him to prove his powers. When the sorcerer turned into a mouse, Puss quickly pounced and ate him. With the castle now free, Puss welcomed the king and introduced it as his master's home. Impressed, the king offered the young man his daughter's hand in marriage. Thanks to the cat's clever planning, the young man went from poor peasant to prince, not by force but by brains, confidence, and a bit of charm. And so, Puss in Boots earned a warm spot in the royal court and lived out his days in comfort and style. Life lessons. Success. Principle. Resourcefulness and creativity can open doors that brute strength or wealth alone cannot. Money lesson: you don't always need more money. You need to use what you have wisely and strategically. Character insight: confidence, charm, and thinking ahead can help turn small beginnings into big outcomes. Life reflection: don't underestimate your unique skills. Sometimes a clever mind is your greatest asset. Chapter 18: Sleeping Beauty. Even in deep sleep, a great destiny can wait to awaken. Classic fairy tale. The story. Long ago, a king and queen rejoiced at the birth of their baby daughter, Princess Aurora. To celebrate, they invited all the good fairies in the land to a grand christening. Each fairy offered the child a magical gift: beauty, grace, and kindness. But one fairy, who had been forgotten and left off the guest list, arrived in anger. She placed a terrible curse on the princess. On her 16th birthday, she would prick her finger on a spinning wheel and fall into a deep sleep, one that could only be broken by true love's kiss. A good fairy softened the curse, saying the princess would not die, but sleep until love awoke her. The king ordered every spinning wheel in the land destroyed. Aurora was sent to live in hiding with 3 kind fairies who raised her deep in the forest. She grew into a kind and beautiful young woman, unaware of her true identity or the danger that awaited her. On her 16th birthday, Aurora returned to the castle. There, drawn by a strange force, she discovered a hidden spinning wheel. She reached out, pricked her finger, and fell into a deep sleep. The curse was fulfilled. Heartbroken, the fairies put the entire castle to sleep with her so that time would not pass them by. Years later, a brave prince heard the tale and ventured to the hidden castle. Battling through thorns and spells, he found Aurora and gently kissed her. She awakened, as did the entire kingdom. Light and life returned. Aurora and the prince were soon married, and the kingdom rejoiced. The curse had been broken, not by force, but by patience, courage, and the power of love and destiny. Life lessons. Success, principle. Some goals take time to come to life. Patience and protection allow potential to blossom at the right moment. Money lesson. Guard your future. Smart planning and guidance can shield you from unexpected dangers. Character insight. Even when challenges seem beyond your control, the right choices, kindness, courage, and love can break through any curse. Life reflection. Sometimes the best things in life aren't rushed. Trust that what is meant for you will awaken when the time is right. Chapter 19. Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs. Kindness and goodness are more powerful than envy and vanity. Classic fairy tale. The story. Once upon a time, a queen wished for a child with skin as white as snow, lips as red as blood, and hair as black as ebony. Her wish came true, and the baby was named Snow White. But after the queen died, the king remarried a vain and jealous woman who owned a magic mirror. Every day she asked, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?" For years, the mirror answered, "You are," until one day it answered, "Snow White." Enraged, the queen sent a huntsman to take Snow White into the woods and kill her. But the huntsman couldn't do it. Snow White's kindness touched his heart. He let her go and told her to run. Lost in the forest, Snow White found a cozy cottage belonging to 7 dwarfs who worked in the nearby mines. They welcomed her into their home, and she stayed, cooking and cleaning and filling the house with joy. When the queen learned Snow White was still alive, she disguised herself and tricked the girl with 3 deadly gifts: tight laces, a poisoned comb, and finally, a poisoned apple. With the last one, Snow White took a bite and collapsed. The dwarfs were heartbroken and placed her in a glass coffin in the forest. One day a prince passed by, and was so moved by her beauty and innocence that he leaned down to kiss her. At that moment, the spell broke. Snow White awakened, and joy returned to the forest. She and the prince soon married, and justice was served to the wicked queen. Snow White's story became one of resilience, compassion, and how goodness, even when hidden, cannot be destroyed. Her kindness saved her and inspired others to protect and believe in her. Life lessons. Success principle. True beauty comes from kindness, humility, and the way you treat others, not outward appearances. Money lesson. Don't be deceived by glitter and glamour. Real value is found in trust, teamwork, and character. Character insight, resilience, compassion, and grace, even under pressure, will eventually be rewarded. Life reflection. The truth always rises. Stay true to who you are, and your goodness will light the way forward. Chapter 20. The Ant and the Grasshopper. Prepare today for the needs of tomorrow. Aesop's Fables, the story. One warm summer day, a busy ant worked hard gathering food for the winter. He carried heavy grains back to his home, step by step, all day long. Nearby, a cheerful grasshopper lay in the sun, singing and laughing. "Why do you work so hard?" the grasshopper asked. "There's plenty of food now. Come and relax with me." The ant shook his head. "I'm storing food while I can. When winter comes, you'll be sorry you didn't prepare." But the grasshopper just laughed and went back to playing music, hopping from blade to blade without a care in the world. All season long, the ant worked steadily while the grasshopper danced and sang. Eventually, the seasons changed. The sun faded, the leaves fell, and snow covered the ground. The grasshopper shivered in the cold, hungry and alone. No food could be found. Meanwhile, the ant stayed warm and fed inside his cozy home, with a full supply of food he had gathered during the summer. The grasshopper knocked on the ant's door, asking for help. Some versions say the ant shared a little food and a lesson. Others say the ant refused, reminding him that every season has its purpose, and that summer was the time to prepare. Either way, the grasshopper learned that fun has its place, but planning and discipline are essential when harder times come. Life lessons. Success, principle, preparation, and consistency lead to security and peace of mind when life gets tough. Money lesson. Save while you can. Earning is important, but saving and planning for the future are even more powerful. Character insight, patience, effort, and foresight may not feel exciting now, but they build long-term success. Life reflection. Every season has its purpose. Use today's abundance to build a better tomorrow. Chapter 21. The Boy Who Cried Wolf. No one believes a liar, even when he tells the truth. Aesop's Fables, the story. Once upon a time, a young shepherd boy was given the important job of watching his village's sheep on a grassy hillside. Each day, his job was to make sure the flock stayed safe, especially from wolves that sometimes roamed the area. At first, the boy took the job seriously, but after many quiet days, he grew bored and lonely. One afternoon, just for fun, the boy shouted, "Wolf! Wolf! A wolf is attacking the sheep!" The villagers came running up the hill to help, but when they arrived, they found no wolf, just the boy laughing at his clever prank. The villagers warned him not to lie again and returned to their work, grumbling with frustration. The next day, the boy did it again. "Wolf! Wolf!" he cried. Again the villagers ran up the hill, only to be fooled once more. The boy laughed and laughed, thinking it was all just harmless fun. But the villagers were not amused. They shook their heads and said, "You won't be trusted if you keep lying." Then one day a real wolf came out of the woods and charged at the flock. Terrified, the boy cried out, "Wolf! "Wolf, please help!" But this time no one came. The villagers assumed it was another trick. By the time they realized the truth, it was too late. The wolf had scattered the sheep, and the boy was left in tears, having learned a hard lesson about the value of trust. Life lessons. Success principle. Trust is one of your most valuable assets. Earn it through honesty and don't risk it for attention or amusement. Money lesson. Just like your reputation, your financial credibility takes time to build and can be lost with one bad decision. Character insight. Telling the truth, even when it's hard, is a sign of maturity and integrity. Life reflection. People believe those who have proven themselves. When your word is strong, others will show up when it counts. Chapter 22, The Elves and the Shoemaker. Help can come in small packages, and often when least expected. Brothers Grimm. The story. Once upon a time, there was a kind and hard-working shoemaker who had fallen on hard times. He had just enough leather left to make one last pair of shoes. Before going to bed, he carefully cut out the pieces and laid them on his workbench. "I'll finish these first thing in the morning," he said, hoping someone would buy them, so he and his wife could eat. But when he awoke the next morning, to his amazement, the shoes were already made, beautiful, perfectly stitched, and ready to sell. A customer soon arrived, delighted with the quality, and paid a high price. The shoemaker bought more leather, and the next night the same miracle happened again. Night after night the mysterious helpers returned, turning his small scraps into fine shoes. Curious and grateful, the shoemaker and his wife decided to hide and watch. To their surprise, two tiny elves appeared after midnight. They wore ragged clothes and no shoes, but they worked cheerfully and quickly, finishing the shoemaker's work before dawn. The couple realized the elves had been helping them out of pure kindness. Wanting to show their appreciation, the shoemaker's wife sewed tiny clothes and shoes for the elves. The next night, instead of leather, they left the... Chapter 22, The Elves and the Shoemaker. Help can come in small packages, and often when least expected. Brothers Grimm. The story. Once upon a time, there was a kind and hard-working shoemaker who had fallen on hard times. He had just enough leather left shoes. Before going to bed, he carefully cut out the pieces and laid them on his workbench. "I'll finish these first thing in the morning," he said, hoping someone would buy them, so he and his wife could eat. But when he awoke the next morning, to his amazement, the shoes were already made, beautiful, perfectly stitched, and ready to sell. A customer soon arrived, delighted with the quality, and paid a high price. The shoemaker bought more leather, and the next night the same miracle happened again. Night after night the mysterious helpers returned, turning his small... Chapter 23, The Emperor's New Clothes. Sometimes the truth only takes one honest voice. Hans Christian Andersen. The story. Once upon a time, there was an emperor who loved clothes more than anything else. He spent all his money on new outfits and enjoyed showing them off more than ruling his kingdom. One day, two clever swindlers arrived in town claiming to be master tailors. They told the emperor they could make him the most magnificent clothing, but with a twist. The fabric would be invisible to anyone who was foolish or unfit for their position. Curious and proud, the emperor commissioned the outfit. The tailors set up looms and pretended to work day and night, asking for the finest silk and gold thread. Ministers came to check on the progress, but, seeing nothing on the looms, feared being seen as unworthy. So they praised the fabric to avoid admitting the truth. The emperor himself visited and saw nothing, but worried about his own reputation, he too pretended to be impressed. When the clothes were ready, the emperor proudly paraded through the streets, wearing nothing at all. The townspeople, not wanting to appear foolish, clapped and admired the invisible clothes, until one small child cried out, but he's not wearing anything at all." The crowd fell silent. One by one, others began to whisper, laugh, and finally admit the truth. The emperor blushed with embarrassment, but continued walking, too proud to admit he'd been fooled. Though the swindlers escaped with their reward, the lesson stayed behind. Everyone realized how easy it is to follow the crowd, and how important it is to speak the truth, even when no one else dares to say it. Life lessons. Success. Principle: don't let pride or fear of judgment keep you from asking honest questions or seeing things clearly. Money lesson: appearances can be deceiving. Value and substance matter more than status and show. Character insight: true strength lies in humility and the courage to speak the truth, even when others stay silent. Life reflection: if something doesn't make sense, trust your instincts. Sometimes the simplest voices see the clearest truths. Chapter 24: The Frog Prince. A promise is a promise, even when it's hard to keep. Brothers Grimm. The story. Once upon a time, a young princess was playing near a well in the royal garden when her favorite golden ball fell into the deep water. Distraught, she began to cry. Suddenly, a frog appeared and offered to retrieve her ball, but only if she promised to be his friend, let him eat from her plate, and allow him to sleep beside her. The princess agreed quickly, thinking it was just a silly frog, and the frog dove in and returned her ball. But once he had held up his end of the bargain, the frog followed her back to the castle. When he knocked at the door, the princess was horrified. She didn't want to keep her promise, but the king overheard and reminded her that a true princess always honors her word. Reluctantly, she let the frog join her at the table, even though she was disgusted and embarrassed. That night, the frog asked to sleep on her pillow. Though she was hesitant, the princess placed him gently beside her. To her surprise, in that moment of kindness, the spell was broken. The frog transformed into a handsome prince who had been cursed by a wicked witch. Her act of keeping her word, even when it was hard, had set him free. The prince and the princess soon became close friends and eventually married. She learned that appearances can be deceiving, and that true character lies beneath the surface. The Frog Prince taught her, and all of us, that kindness, integrity, and honor can break the strongest curses. Life lessons. Success principle: keeping your word, even when it's uncomfortable, builds lasting trust and character. Money lesson: in business and life, honoring agreements is the foundation of strong relationships and long-term value. Character insight: don't judge by appearances. What seems unimportant may carry great meaning and potential. Life reflection: acts of integrity and kindness have the power to transform lives, yours and others. Never underestimate them. Chapter 25. The Giving Tree. And the tree was happy. Shel Silverstein. The story. Once there was a tree who loved a little boy. When the boy was young, he would visit the tree every day. He would climb her trunk, swing from her branches, eat her apples, and rest in her shade. The tree was happy whenever the boy was near, but as time passed, the boy grew older and visited less often. One day the boy came to the tree wanting money. The tree offered her apples, and the boy took them to sell. Later, the boy returned, wanting a house. The tree told him to cut off her branches to build one, and again she was happy to give. Then he came back wanting a boat to travel far away, so the tree offered her trunk. Piece by piece, the tree gave all she had to the boy she loved. Finally, the boy returned once more, now an old man. He had no money, no dreams, and no strength left. The tree, now just a stump, was sad that she had nothing more to give. But the old man said he only wanted a quiet place to sit and rest. The tree straightened up as best she could and said, "Well, an old stump is good for sitting and resting." And so the old man sat, and the tree was happy. The story ends with both peace and reflection, showing the quiet power of unconditional love and reminding us to consider the balance between giving and receiving. Life lessons. Success principle. True success isn't measured by what you gain, but by how much you're willing to give for others with love. Money lesson. Generosity has value, but giving must be thoughtful. Protecting your resources ensures you can continue to help others. Character insight. Unselfish giving is noble, but it's also important to teach others gratitude and balance in relationships. Life reflection. Sometimes the smallest acts of kindness, like offering a place to rest, can mean the most to someone in need. Chapter 26. The Goose That Laid the Golden Eggs. Greed often loses all by trying to gain too much. Aesop's Fable. The Story. Once upon a time, a farmer and his wife discovered that one of their geese had laid a shiny golden egg. At first they thought it was a trick, but when they took the egg to market, they realized it was real gold. Each day after that, the goose laid another golden egg, and the couple became very wealthy. At first, they were grateful, but over time, their desire for wealth grew. If the goose lays a golden egg every day, the farmer said, then surely there must be a pile of gold inside her. Greed clouded their judgment, and they decided they couldn't wait any longer for their fortune to grow slowly. So one morning, the farmer and his wife took a knife and killed the goose, hoping to find gold inside. But when they opened her, they found nothing. No treasure, no golden eggs, just an ordinary goose. The magic was gone. In their greed, they had destroyed the very thing that had brought them wealth. From that day on, the farmer and his wife had no more golden eggs. They had thrown away their steady, growing fortune for a one-time dream of instant riches. The story spread through the villages as a warning to all. Those who are impatient and greedy often lose everything by trying to get too much too fast. Life lessons. Success. Principle. Sustainable growth comes from consistency and patience, not shortcuts fueled by greed. Money lesson. Respect the sources of your income. When you manage your assets wisely, they continue to produce value over time. Character insight. Greed blinds judgment. Trust in the process and nurture what brings long-term reward. Life reflection. Some of life's greatest gains come a little at a time. Don't rush and destroy what's working just for faster results. Chapter 27. The Lion and the Mouse. Even the smallest friend can make a mighty impact. Aesop's Fables. The Story. One day in the savannah, a mighty lion lay sleeping beneath a tree. As he rested, a tiny mouse scurried across his paw and woke him. The lion roared and caught the mouse beneath his claws. "How dare you disturb me?" he growled. The frightened mouse squeaked. "Please let me go. If you spare me, I may one day help you in return." The lion laughed at the idea that a tiny mouse could help the king of the jungle, but he was feeling generous, so he lifted his paw and let the mouse run free. "You are lucky today, little one," the lion said, still amused. The mouse thanked him and disappeared into the grass. Days later, the lion was walking through the jungle when he was caught in a hunter's net. He roared and struggled, but the more he moved, the tighter the ropes became. Animals nearby heard the cries, but none dared approach, except one. The little mouse heard the lion's roar and came running. Using his sharp teeth, the mouse began gnawing at the ropes. Bit by bit, he chewed through the net until the lion was free. The lion looked at the mouse with gratitude and said, "You were right, little friend. Even the smallest creature can help the greatest." From that day on, the lion and the mouse remained unlikely but loyal friends. Life lessons. Success, principle. Never underestimate anyone. Small acts of kindness can create strong alliances and surprising returns. Money lesson. Relationships are assets. Treat everyone with respect. You never know who might help you solve a big problem. Character insight. True strength includes humility. Those who give grace often receive it back in unexpected ways. Life reflection. Helping others, regardless of their size or status, builds a world where everyone thrives. Chapter 28. The Little Engine That Could. I think I can. I think I can. I think I can. Watty Piper, the story. One day a long train full of toys, books, and good food was heading over the mountain to deliver gifts to children on the other side. But as the train climbed the steep slope, its engine suddenly broke down. The toys and dolls were worried. How would they reach the children in time? They asked several passing engines for help, but each one refused. "I'm too important," said one. "I'm too tired," said another. Just when hope was fading, a small blue engine came chugging down the track. She wasn't big or strong, just a little switch engine that usually worked in the yard. The toys explained their problem and asked if she could help pull the train over the mountain. "I've never been that far," she said, "but I'll try." She hitched herself to the train and started to climb, whispering her mantra, "I think I can. I think I can. I think I can." The mountain was steep, and the climb was hard. The little engine puffed and strained with all her might, but she never gave up. She kept repeating, "I think I can. I think I can." Slowly but surely, the train inched its way up the hill. With determination and belief, she finally reached the top, and then glided happily down the other side. The toys cheered with joy, and the little engine beamed with pride. "I thought I could," she said, as she rolled into the station. Thanks to her courage and can-do spirit, the children received their gifts. The little engine became a hero, not because she was the strongest, but because she believed in herself and kept going when it mattered most. Life lessons. Success. Principle: believing in yourself, even when others doubt you, is the first step towards success. Money lesson. Big results often come from small beginnings and steady effort. You don't need to be the biggest, just consistent. Character insight. A positive attitude and persistence can help you overcome challenges that seem impossible. Life reflection. When you say, "I think I can," you plant the seeds for "I knew I could." Confidence fuels momentum. Chapter 29. The Little Mermaid. She gave up her voice for a chance at love and a soul. Hans Christian Andersen. The story. Deep beneath the sea, the little mermaid dreamed of the world above. She was the youngest of 6 sisters and the most curious. On her 15th birthday, she finally surfaced and saw a ship sailing under a starlit sky. On board was a handsome prince. When a storm struck and the prince was thrown overboard, she saved him and brought him to shore, falling in love with him from afar. Longing to live among humans and win the prince's heart, the little mermaid visited the sea witch. The witch agreed to give her legs, but in exchange for her beautiful voice. "If the prince does not fall in love with you and marry you," warned the witch, "you will dissolve into sea foam." Silently the mermaid accepted, believing love was worth the risk. She rose to the surface, now human, but mute. Though the prince was kind to her, he did not know she had saved him. He believed another woman had, and soon he married that woman instead. Heartbroken, the little mermaid faced the end of her time on land. Her sisters brought her a magical dagger from the sea witch. If she killed the prince, she could return to the ocean. But the little mermaid couldn't bring herself to harm someone she loved. At sunrise, she threw the dagger into the sea and leapt into the waves, ready to vanish into foam. But because of her pure heart and selfless act, she was given a new chance. Instead of perishing, she rose as a spirit of the air, with the hope of earning a soul through good deeds. Her story is one of sacrifice, courage, and the search for something greater than oneself. Life lessons. Success. Principle. Dreams come with sacrifice. True growth often requires stepping out of your comfort zone and risking failure. Money lesson. Don't trade your most valuable asset, your voice, your values, your integrity, for fleeting rewards. Know your worth. Character insight. Real love and strength are shown not through possession, but through selflessness and compassion. Life reflection. When you give everything for what you believe in, even without reward, you become more than what you were before. Chapter 30. The Little Red Hen. If you don't help me plant the seeds, you don't get to eat the bread. Traditional folk tale. The story. Once upon a time, a little red hen lived on a farm with her friends, a lazy dog, a sleepy cat, and a noisy duck. One day, while pecking at the ground, she found some grains of wheat. "Who will help me plant this wheat?" she asked. "Not I," said the dog. "Not I," said the cat. "Not I," said the duck. "Then I will do it myself," said the little red hen. And she did. She watered the wheat, pulled the weeds, and watched it grow. When it was tall and golden, she asked, "Who will help me harvest the wheat?" Again, all three friends refused, so she harvested it herself. Then she asked, "Who will help me grind the wheat into flour?" "Not I," said the dog. "Not I," said the cat. "Not I," said the duck. So she ground it into flour all by herself. "Who will help me bake the bread?" she asked. "Not I," said the dog. "Not I," said the cat. "Not I," said the duck. So the little red hen baked the bread herself. The kitchen smelled wonderful as the fresh loaf came out of the oven, warm and golden brown. "Who will help me eat the bread?" she asked. "I will," barked the dog. "I will," purred the cat. "I will," quacked the duck. "No," said the little red hen. "You didn't help me plant it, harvest it, grind it, or bake it. I will eat the bread myself." And she did, every bite. Her friends learned that if you don't help with the work, you don't share in the reward. Life lessons. Success. Principle. Those who do the work earn the rewards. Don't expect something for nothing. Money lesson. Wealth is grown through effort. The habits of planting, nurturing, and producing lead to financial independence. Character insight, responsibility, follow-through, and independence are traits of successful people and respected leaders. Life reflection. People may not show up to help you build, but they'll come running when it's time to celebrate. Stay strong and fair. Chapter 31. The Prince and the Pauper. We are not so different, you and I. Mark Twain. The story. In the heart of London, two boys were born on the same day, one into poverty, the other into royalty. Tom Canty lived in a rundown neighborhood, dreaming of a better life. Edward Tudor was a prince, heir to the throne. One day, fate brought them together at the palace gates, where they were shocked to see they looked exactly alike. Curious and bold, the two boys decided to switch clothes and lives for a day. But before they could return, Edward, dressed as the pauper, was thrown out by guards who believed he was insane. Meanwhile, Tom, now in royal clothes, was mistaken for the true prince and taken to the palace where he was treated like royalty despite his protests. Edward wandered the city, witnessing the harsh realities of poverty, injustice, and hunger. He learned how the kingdom's laws hurt the poor and powerless. Meanwhile, Tom struggled with palace life, trying to play the role of a prince while secretly wishing to go back home. Over time, both boys grew wiser, more compassionate, and deeply aware of life outside their own worlds. Eventually, Edward made his way back to the palace just in time to stop Tom's coronation. After proving his true identity, he reclaimed his place as king, but ruled with a new heart. Having lived like a pauper, he now led with empathy and justice. Tom returned to his family, respected and rewarded for his honesty and courage. Both boys were forever changed. Life lessons. Success, principle. Leadership rooted in empathy is powerful. To truly lead others, understand their experiences. Money lesson. Wealth does not define wisdom or worth. Financial success should be paired with compassion and fairness. Character insight. Walking in another person's shoes can shatter assumptions and build mutual respect. Life reflection. Identity is more than status. True greatness lies in humility, courage, and the willingness to listen and learn. Chapter 32. The Princess and the Pea. Only a real princess could feel a pea through all those mattresses. Hans Christian Andersen. The story. Once upon a time, there was a prince who wanted to marry a real princess. He searched far and wide but couldn't find anyone who was truly authentic. Something always seemed off. Some were too proud, others too plain, and none could prove they were a true princess, not just in name, but in nature. One stormy night, a young woman appeared at the castle gates, soaked from head to toe. She claimed to be a princess, seeking shelter. The queen, skeptical but curious, devised a clever test. She placed a single pea under 20 mattresses and 20 feather beds, then invited the girl to sleep there for the night. The next morning, the queen asked the girl how she slept. "Oh, terribly," the girl replied. "There was something hard in the bed, and I'm black and blue all over." The queen smiled. Only a real princess could be sensitive enough to feel a tiny pea through so many layers. The prince was overjoyed. He had finally found someone who was genuine, graceful, and true. They married soon after, and the little pea was placed in a royal museum, just in case anyone doubted the story. The tale became a favorite reminder that true worth is often proven through subtle strength and quiet honesty. Life lessons. Success, principle. Small details reveal big truths. True character shows up even in subtle situations. Money lesson. Value isn't always flashy. A trained eye and patient testing reveal what's real and lasting, just like a good investment. Character insight. Authenticity matters more than appearances. It's not about claiming a title, it's about proving it through action and integrity. Life reflection. Gentle strength, sensitivity, and honesty are often overlooked but deeply powerful traits, especially in leadership and love. Chapter 33. The Tale of Peter Rabbit. Now run along and don't get into mischief. Beatrix Potter, The Story. Once upon a time, there were 4 little rabbits, Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail, and Peter. They lived with their mother under the roots of a big fir tree. One morning, she warned them not to go into Mr. McGregor's garden, where their father had once been caught and made into a pie. The others went down the lane to pick berries, but Peter, full of curiosity, ran straight to the forbidden garden. Inside, Peter ate lettuces, French beans, and radishes until he felt quite sick. But then he was spotted by Mr. McGregor, who chased him with a rake. Peter darted through the garden in a panic, losing his shoes and jacket along the way. He tried hiding in a watering can and jumping through a window, but everywhere he turned, danger was close behind. After a frantic dash past a cat and through a gooseberry net, Peter finally squeezed out of the garden and escaped home, tired, scared, and without his coat or shoes. Meanwhile, his sisters enjoyed their berries peacefully, having obeyed their mother's warning. When Peter returned, his mother was not pleased. She put him to bed with chamomile tea while the others had a nice supper. Though he learned a tough lesson, Peter's adventure became a classic tale of disobedience, bravery, and the importance of listening to good advice, life lessons, success, principle. Wise decisions and self-discipline pave the way for a safer, happier future. Money lesson. Impulse can lead to loss. Just like Peter lost his jacket and shoes, hasty choices in business or spending can cost you dearly. Character insight. Curiosity is good, but when mixed with disobedience, it leads to danger. Balance exploration with responsibility. Life reflection. We grow by learning from our mistakes. Sometimes a little chamomile tea and reflection can set us back on the right path. Chapter 34. The Three Little Pigs. I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house down. The Big Bad Wolf, the story. Once upon a time, three little pigs left home to build houses of their own. The first little pig quickly built a house of straw. It was easy and took little time, so he spent the rest of the day relaxing. The second pig built a house of sticks, stronger than straw, but still simple and quick. He too took it easy once it was done. The third pig, however, worked hard to build his house from bricks. It took more effort and time, but he wanted a house that could stand up to anything. One day, a big bad wolf came along. He was hungry and saw an opportunity. He went to the house of straw and said, little pig, let me come in." When the pig refused, the wolf said, "Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house down." And he did. The first little pig ran to his brother's stick house, but the wolf followed. And again he huffed and puffed and blew the stick house down too. The two frightened pigs ran to the brick house built by their third brother. The wolf came after them and repeated his threat. He huffed and he puffed, but no matter how hard he tried, the sturdy brick house would not fall. The wolf became angrier and tried to sneak down the chimney. But the third pig had placed a pot of boiling water in the fireplace. When the wolf dropped in, he yelped in surprise and shot back up the chimney, never to bother the pigs again. From that day on, the three pigs lived together safely in the brick house. The first two pigs learned a valuable lesson from their brother, that hard work and smart preparation always pay off. Though it was more effort in the beginning, the third pig's planning had saved them all and given them peace of mind for the future. Life lessons. Success, principle, long-term success often requires effort, patience, and preparation up front. Money lesson. Don't take shortcuts with your finances. Investing in quality and security pays off over time. Character insight. Being wise and responsible can help not only yourself, but also protect others around you. Life reflection. It's okay to play later, but only after the work is done and your foundation is strong. Chapter 35. The Tortoise and the Hare. Slow and steady wins the race. Aesop's Fables. The story. Once upon a time in a sunny meadow, a speedy hare loved to brag about how fast he could run. He laughed at all the other animals, especially the slow-moving tortoise. "You're so slow I could take a nap and still beat you," he teased. Tired of the hare's boasting, the tortoise calmly replied, "Let's have a race." The other animals gathered to watch. At the sound of "Go!" the hare dashed off, leaving a cloud of dust behind him. The tortoise began slowly, one step at a time, steady and focused. Halfway through the race, the hare looked back and saw how far behind the tortoise was. Confident and cocky, he decided to lie down and take a nap under a tree. While the hare slept, the tortoise kept moving, slowly but surely. Step by step, he passed the sleeping hare and continued toward the finish line. When the hare finally woke up, he was shocked to see the tortoise almost at the end. He ran as fast as he could, but it was too late. The tortoise crossed the finish line just before the hare. The crowd of animals cheered, and the hare hung his head in shame. From that day on, he learned an important lesson. Overconfidence and laziness can cost you the race. The tortoise, humble and persistent, had proved that slow and steady truly wins. Life lessons. Success, principle. Consistency beats speed when it comes to long-term goals. Focus, discipline, and persistence pay off. Money lesson. Building wealth isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. Small, smart steps over time create lasting financial security. Character insight. Don't underestimate others based on appearance or pace. Quiet determination often outshines flashy talent. Life reflection. Stay humble, stay steady, and don't get distracted by ego. Victory belongs to those who keep moving forward. Chapter 36. The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. There's No Place Like Home. L. Frank Baum, The Story. Dorothy was an ordinary girl living on a Kansas farm when a tornado swept her and her dog Toto far away to the magical land of Oz. There she was greeted by kind witches and strange, beautiful lands, but all Dorothy wanted was to go home. She was told to follow the yellow brick road to the Emerald City and ask the great Wizard of Oz for help. Along her journey, Dorothy met a scarecrow who wished for a brain, a tin man who longed for a heart, and a cowardly lion who desired courage. They joined her quest, each hoping the wizard would give them what they lacked. Together, they faced challenges and formed a bond of trust and friendship. When they finally reached the Emerald City, the wizard gave them each a task to defeat the Wicked Witch of the West. Through teamwork and bravery, they succeeded. But when they returned, they discovered that the wizard wasn't magical at all, just an ordinary man behind a curtain. Still, he helped them see they already had what they needed inside. The scarecrow had been clever, the tin man had always shown compassion, and the lion had acted with courage. Dorothy, too, learned that her ruby slippers had the power to return her home all along. With a few clicks of her heels, she was back in Kansas, forever changed by her journey and grateful for the love and strength she discovered in herself and her friends. Life lessons. Success, principle. You already have what it takes. Sometimes you just need the journey to realize it. Money lesson. Don't chase after false magic or quick fixes. The real power is in developing your own knowledge, heart, and bravery. Character insight. True wisdom, compassion, and courage are proven through action, not handed out by someone else. Life reflection. You can go far and wide in search of meaning, only to find that the things that matter most were with you all along. Chapter 37. The Ugly Duckling. It is only with the heart that one can see clearly. What is essential is invisible to the eye. Hans Christian Andersen. The Story. On a warm summer day, a mother duck's eggs began to hatch. One by one, fluffy little ducklings emerged. But one egg was different, larger and slower to crack. When it finally did, out came a gray, awkward bird that looked nothing like the others. The mother duck was surprised, and the farm animals whispered, "He's so ugly." From that day on, the poor duckling was bullied and rejected by nearly everyone. Even his own siblings picked on him. Lonely and heartbroken, he left the farm and wandered through forests and fields, searching for a place where he belonged. Through harsh seasons and close calls, the duckling grew stronger, but still felt like he didn't fit in. One spring morning, the duckling came across a pond filled with graceful white birds. He admired them from afar, thinking, "I'll never be like them." But as he bent to look at his reflection in the water, he gasped. He was no longer gray and awkward. He had become one of them. A beautiful swan stared back. The other swans welcomed him warmly. For the first time in his life, he felt love and acceptance. He had not been an ugly duckling at all. He had been a swan all along. His journey had been hard, but it helped him discover who he truly was and gave him the strength to soar. From that day on, he glided proudly across the water, knowing that beauty comes from within and unfolds in its own time. Life lessons. Success, principle. You may not see your greatness right away, but it's there. Stay patient and keep growing. Money lesson. Just like a swan grows from humble beginnings, your financial journey takes time. Invest in yourself and trust the process. Character insight. True value isn't based on how others see you. It's discovered through perseverance and inner strength. Life reflection. Don't give up in the tough seasons. What seems like rejection may be redirecting you toward your true potential. Chapter 38. Winnie the Pooh. Sometimes the smallest things take up the most room in your heart. A Milne, the story. Deep in the 100-acre wood lived Winnie the Pooh, a lovable bear with a big heart and an even bigger love for honey. Pooh spent his days wandering the forest with his friends, Piglet, Eeyore, Tigger, Rabbit, Owl, Kanga, Roo, and Christopher Robin. Though he considered himself a bear of very little brain, Pooh often surprised everyone with his simple but wise thoughts. Whether he was climbing trees in search of honey or helping Eeyore rebuild his house, Pooh approached life with optimism and warmth. He valued time spent with friends and enjoyed the little things, like a quiet moment, a thoughtful gift, or a silly game. Though he sometimes made mistakes, his kind heart and good intentions always shone through. One day, Pooh and Piglet went on an expedition to find the North Pole, and though they didn't exactly know what it was, they had a wonderful adventure. Another time, Pooh found himself stuck in Rabbit's doorway after eating too much honey, but his friends waited patiently until he slimmed down. Through each small adventure, the animals learned more about friendship, kindness, and being there for each other. Christopher Robin, the boy who brought them all together, reminded them, and us, that growing up doesn't mean losing the joy of imagination. The 100-acre wood was more than a place. It was a reminder of the value of friendship, simplicity, and the quiet strength of a caring heart. Life lessons, success, principle. True happiness comes from relationships, not riches. Success is measured in kindness, not complexity. Money lesson. Appreciate simple joys. A fulfilled life doesn't require extravagance. It requires gratitude, sharing, and intention. Character insight. Being thoughtful and loyal builds trust and connection. Emotional intelligence matters as much as cleverness. Life reflection. Don't rush through life. Pause for a walk in the woods, a conversation with a friend, or a spoonful of honey. These are the moments that make us rich. Chapter 39. Zin, 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 a violin. With a mournful moan and a silken tone, a trombone slides in a golden zone. Lloyd Moss, The Story. In a playful, poetic celebration of music, the story begins with a single trombone stepping onto the stage. Its rich, golden tones mark the beginning of a concert to remember. As the music grows, a trumpet joins in, then a French horn, and the room begins to fill with the bold, brassy sound of a trio. One by one, more instruments enter the stage. A cello brings its deep, resonant sound. A flute flutters in with grace and charm. A clarinet dances along with elegance. Each new arrival is greeted with the whimsical chorus, Zin, Zin, Zin. As they turn a solo into a duet, a trio into a quartet, and so on. The rhythm of the words and the vivid descriptions bring each instrument to life. A harp, a bass, and finally, the violin join in. With each entrance, the ensemble becomes fuller, richer, and more alive. The excitement builds as the solo performance blossoms into a magnificent chamber group of 10. In the end, the book leaves readers enchanted by the music and inspired by the way so many different sounds can come together in harmony. Zin, zin, zin. A violin is not just about instruments. It's about community, creativity, and the joyful experience of working together to make something beautiful. Life lessons. Creativity. Principle: everyone brings a unique sound to the stage. Your voice matters in the big picture. Success lesson. A team made of diverse talents working in harmony can create extraordinary results. Money application. Like a symphony, wealth is built one part at a time. Practice, discipline, and adding value together. Life reflection. Collaboration is more powerful than competition. When we support each other, we make music that moves the world. Thank you for watching our Success and Money Fairy Tales, 39 Fairy Tales and Life Lessons. Visit successandmoneyfoundation.org for more courses. Support our channel by hitting the like button and subscribe.